Hello there everybody, how is it going and how have you been? I am EuclideanSqd, and we're back here in Duel Links. A new event has just launched. It is the Jesse Anderson Unlock event, Awaken Rainbow Dragon. Now, the event isn't completely new. They did run it about 2 months ago, I believe. Roughly 2 months ago. But in today's video, I'm just going to be doing a quick overview of the event and then showing off a deck that I found that you can use to farm the level 40 Jesse Anderson for the event points. Now, for anybody that participated in the Merrick event, this event plays out a lot like that one did. You go around Duel World, you beat up the NPC duelists just like normal, they give you your little play tokens, in this case they're called Crystal Fruits, and you then cash those in at the gate to battle against Jesse himself. Now, there are a few differences in this event. For one, obviously, when you get enough points in this event, you're going to unlock Jesse for you to use as opposed to Merrick, obviously. That, I believe, will happen at 200,000 points. I'm just going to double check the event details really quick just to make sure. Yep, 200,000 points, you get to unlock Jesse Anderson. His deck will come with a copy of his Rainbow Dragon card, but you'll really want to try and get to 800,000 points to get his new unique skill, Transcending Crystals, as well. As you can see on screen, this skill can be used once per turn and up to twice per duel, and you basically send anywhere from 1 to 3 cards from your hand to the graveyard to then play the same number of Crystal Beasts into your spell and trap card zone. And this is important because you special summon Rainbow Dragon by having 7 different Crystal Beasts on some combination of your field or your graveyard. So this skill is meant to make it a lot easier to summon Rainbow Dragon by basically being able to toss Crystal Beasts that are in your hand to then find the ones that are still hiding somewhere in your deck. Now, aside from those 2 rewards, this event's rewards are going to be very similar to the Merrick event. There's going to be lots of things that are gold, there's going to be lots of rewards that are gems, rare jewels, super rare jewels. If you happen to unlock Jesse or get the special dual mat and card sleeves and icon last time he was around, they have been replaced with ultra rare jewels, standard fare for this sort of event. There are a couple of cards that you can get as dual rewards as well, particularly these are new cards like Crystal Promise that are available only through this version of the event. So I do recommend that you play it as much as you can. But in addition to that, there are 2 main differences between Jesse's version of this sort of event and Merrick's. First off, after you unlock Jesse's level 40 difficulty at the gate, Zane Truesdale will start to appear in Duel World as well. He does have a very different deck than Jesse does. If I had to guess, it's probably slightly more difficult than Jesse's deck is. I don't actually have that much information on Zane prepared, just because, as you might be able to notice, he doesn't drop any cards. So there was an event where Zane was wandering Duel World, and he would give you Cyber Dragon related cards, but he doesn't drop them in this event, so I didn't think it was all that important to find something that you can use to farm him, since all he's really going to be doing is being another source of duel points. Which leads me into the second note about Jesse's event. With Merrick, your total event point score, the thing that tallies up with a multiplier after you finish each duel, your score would only count if you dueled against Merrick, against Arcana, or against the Rare Hunters. But with Jesse, anybody you duel against, your duel assessment gets multiplied and then added onto the event total. So you can progress through this event's rewards a lot faster than you could with Merrick. They're all pretty much the same levels, they all top off at about 3 million where you get the icon, and it's anywhere from every 10,000 to every 100,000 after that, depending on how far along in the event you've gotten. But that said, the multipliers for anybody that is not Jesse Anderson, not going to be all that good. Your standard duelists are aren't going to multiply your score at all. They have a ×1 multiplier on it. Other legendary duelists like Jaden or Alexis or Chaz are going to give you a ×3 multiplier, and the Vagabond is going to give you a ×7. Now, to put that all into perspective, level 30 Jesse at the gate will give you a ×7, and level 40 Jesse will give you a ×18. So if you're really looking to get as many points as you can in this event as quickly as you can in this event, go for level 40 Jesse's at the gate as soon as you get him unlocked. I'm not sure about Zane. I don't know what sort of multiplier he gives. I don't think it's going to be as high as Jesse's, but don't quote me on that. Maybe I'll throw in just a quick auto duel against him at the end of the video if I happen to remember. But for now, let's go ahead and look at the deck that I found that you can use to farm the level 40 Jessie. I'm actually quite excited about this particular deck because the way it's designed, it doesn't rely on any one duelist's skills to be used. In other words, you can copy this deck into anybody's deck slots and it will be pretty much just as effective as it would be anywhere else. So if it does look kind of similar, that's because this is very similar to the Elegant Mai farming deck that I showed off a couple of weeks ago, I believe. And the basic premise is you use the Dark Mimics to draw cards, you use the Doomdog Octhroses to seek out your Dark Necropheres, you special summon the Dark Necropheres in defense mode. Jessie has a very difficult time attacking past them, and they just sit there, stall him out until you get all the cards out of your deck, and then you can do the typical Vassal Union Attack Secret Pass combo for the win. Pardon me as I snivel, I've had a little bit of a rough allergy today. Now, the main difference with this version of the deck is that, for one, you don't have quite as many cards available to stop Jessie's attacks. Primarily, you only have Windstorm of Itaquia and then all these Karibos. And this can make the deck a little bit expensive, primarily because Sphere Karibo is an ultra rare, but the main expense of this deck, I believe, is going to be the regular Karibos. Not because they're super rares, but because the only way you could have gotten Karibo is through previous Duelist Chronicles events. So if you're brand new to the game, or if you were just unlucky and didn't find Karibo in any of these Duelist Chronicle event rewards, I did make a cheaper version of the deck, but both the base version and the cheaper version kind of run into the same problem in that they're not that fantastic at keeping up with Jessie in the early game. Really quick, this is the cheap version of the deck, very similar to the base version, except you replace the Karibos with 3 security orbs, a Curse of Anubis, and I just threw in a Jar of Greed for a little bit of extra draw power, just because it's 22 cards as opposed to 20. You certainly don't have to have Jar of Greed if you don't want to. But what I'm referring to about being a bit slow in the early game is that Jessie's monsters are going to rapidly start to outnumber yours, because the main idea is for him to constantly destroy the Dark Mimics and the Doom Dogs so that you can start thinning out your deck. Now, as a result, that means that he will probably get 1 or 2 shots into your life points, which is primarily why I gave these decks the life point boost alpha skill, so that I start with 5,000 instead of 4,000. But he can still get in a few good hits, and if you have particularly bad opening hands, it is possible for him to just knock you out before the deck can really even get going. In particular, this deck really wants to go first, and the game has a very strong preference to making me go second, which is not great. But let's see if I can show off the cheap version of the deck. And it's not that bad of an opening hand. Found both Dark Necropheres already, so let's just go ahead and use a Dark Mimic to search out cards, as well as a Jar of Greed. Basically, the faster you can get any of the cards to stop Jessie's attacks, the better. Just because that means fewer attacks incoming to your life points, which will make it easier for you to last up until you can summon a Necrophere and start stalling. So I'm going to go ahead and set Windstorm. I don't know why he hasn't flipped that card over, but any monster that's not attacking me, I'm going to just go ahead and ignore. Now, when it comes to Jessie's deck, he does have quite a few threats to it. One of his powerful monsters is this Crystal Beast Sapphire Pegasus. I'm going to get rid of this one. And Sapphire Pegasus is pretty strong just because it does start off at 1800 attack points. It's 4 stars. It doesn't have that nasty of an effect. It just lets him set a Crystal Beast from his deck in his spell and trap card zone. I'm okay taking this Pegasus attack to the face. Perfectly fine. But if you're going to be battling Jessie in a more standard duel, watch out for the Pegasus just because it does have a fairly high base attack value. The other monster you'll probably want to watch out for in terms of raw strength is going to be something called Crystal Beast Topaz Tiger. It has a slightly fewer attack points than Sapphire Pegasus. It has 1600, I believe. And the main problem with Topaz Tiger is that whenever it attacks one of your monsters, it gets to gain 400 attack points during the damage step. So, in other words, when it attacks one of your monsters, it technically has 2000 attack points instead of just 1600. Now, both of these monsters can be made scarier by an equip spell that he has in his deck called Crystal Release, which gives them 800 extra attack points. And there it is, in fact. So, if he puts it on a Topaz Tiger, that thing's going to have 2800 defense whenever it tries to attack something of yours. Sapphire Pegasi go up to 2600 attack. And this is primarily why, well, Dark Necrofear isn't a perfect stall as a result, because Jesse does have 2 copies of Crystal Release. So if he ever puts both Crystal Releases on a single Crystal Beast monster, it's very likely that it will be able to attack through Dark Necrofear. But at that point, you can just use Dark Necrofear's effect to take control of the Crystal Beast that destroyed it and resume the Stallfest. So that's something more to watch out for if you're going to be dueling him in a more natural fashion and you're going to be trying to beat his monsters with your own monsters instead of just hiding behind something in defense mode and slowly drawing out your deck. Now, aside from those, the Sapphire Pegasus, the Crystal Release, and the Topaz Tiger, those are his main attack force. But there are still two certain cards in Jesse's deck that can give this particular farming deck some trouble, primarily if it doesn't give me cards that I can use to draw. One of them is a trap card, and one of them is another one of his Crystal Beasts. The Crystal Beast that this deck has no answer for is something called Crystal Beast Amethyst Cat. And the reason for that is that Amethyst Cat has an ability where it just gets to attack you directly. Now granted, if it does attack directly, any battle damage that it does is halved, so it will be doing very little damage to you over the course of the duel. But because it just gets to avoid Dark Necrofear entirely, it's either going to sit there and poke at you, it's going to make you burn through your attack stopping traps until they're not there anymore. Or you may just have to bite the bullet, give up on the effect damage only bonus at the end of the game, and just have a Dark Necrofear destroy it. Now the good news about Amethyst Cat is that he only has 1 copy in his deck, and in fact it's right here, so that's Amethyst Cat, that's the one you want to watch out for. So if he ever discards it, or if you have to destroy it in battle, once it's gone, it's pretty much gone. I don't think he has any cards that can summon a Crystal Beast out of his back row, but I don't know for sure. Actually, I think... no, Crystal Release just lets him put a Crystal Beast from his deck into a Spawn Trap card zone. Doesn't let him special summon from it. But that's the one other monster to really watch out for in his deck. Thinking about it, you may also want to watch out for the Crystal Beast Amber Mammoth, just because it has 1700 attack points, and I believe its effect lets... basically, Mammoth's effect makes it so that you have to attack it instead of another Crystal Beast he controls. That's not the exact wording of the effect. I think it's that Jesse can make you attack Mammoth instead of another Crystal Beast, but I believe the AI will probably make you do that almost all the time. So, you know, that's that. But the trap card that I mentioned is something called Crystal Conclave, I believe. And the main reason you want to watch out for that trap is that after he's activated it, one of its effects lets him return a Crystal Beast on his side of the field to his hand to send one of your monsters back to your hand. Well, one of your cards back to your hand, I should say. But that can include either of your Dark Necrofears. There have been times where he's used it when I've only had 1 Necrofear on the field and I couldn't resummon it in time to get him to stop attacking me. But he can possibly also save it until the end of the duel, and I have had him use it on Gravekeeper's Vassal once. So again, that's something else to watch out for if you're using this farming deck or any other farming deck really that doesn't have any sort of means of controlling a trap card. But on the plus side, there have been occasions where his AI has been very, very stupid with that card. Like, on one of my farming attempts, he just used it out of the blue randomly to send the Yami field spell back to my hand when it was my turn. So I don't know exactly what the AI saw and thought it would benefit by doing that. But again, just another warning to watch out for. And that's the basis of this farming deck. That's a cheaper version that I made. Again, I primarily wanted to show this one off just because it seemed fairly cheap to make, and like I mentioned, it doesn't rely on any one particular skill, so you can throw it onto anybody. There are other farming decks out there. You can literally just, throw into Google level 40 Jesse Anderson, and it'll probably find you a bunch of different farming decks that you can try out. But there is one that I do want to show off, and I don't know why I went in this button, because that's not it. I actually have to click on Jaden. So this is another variation of the same deck that I just showed off with the Paradox Brothers. The reason I didn't show this one off directly is because it does use their Labyrinth Builder skill, and the reason I wanted to avoid that is that the Labyrinth Builder skill for the Paradox Brothers is something they have to get as an after duel reward by beating other legendary duelists. It's not something they get by level up, it's just a random loot drop. So you may get lucky and you get it after 5 legendary duelist duels, you may not get it after 100. It kind of depends on how generous the game decides to be. But this version of the deck is a bit more consistent than the others, just because you do have the possibility of summoning Labyrinth Wall on your first turn, which can delay Jesse quite significantly unless, again, he manages to play Amethyst Cat or that Crystal Conclave trap early on in the duel, at which point he will either just attack past the Labyrinth Wall or use Crystal Conclave to throw the wall back into your hand and then go for your face anyway. So I'm not gonna show this deck off in an actual duel. I just wanted to show it off on screen really quick. I do like this version of the deck a lot better, just because, again, it does slow Jesse immediately. I also threw in a copy of Remove Trap just in case his AI decides to save Crystal Conclave until the end of the game, because he did that once or twice to me in a row and I started to get nervous, so I just threw it in the deck anyway. But yeah, these are 3 different versions of the same farming deck. Have fun if you want. Now, I actually need to back up really quick. If you were here for the information on farming Jesse, that's that, but I just want to go ahead and have a quick auto duel against Zane Truesdale just to see what sort of multiplier he gives. Again, I don't think it's going to be a times 18, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm just going to have it auto duel with the alien deck that I typically throw on duelists to let them auto duel with, just because it has a fairly decent chance of winning. Yeah, that's that. When it comes to Crystal Beasts, I haven't actually used them much in-game. I am interested in trying out a Crystal Beast deck, especially now that Jesse has this skill that makes summoning Rainbow Dragon quite a bit easier. Don't know when I will get around to it, but it's definitely something that I want to try. Let's see. And, alright, cool. Nice quick win against Zane. Didn't see any of his really dangerous Cyber Dragons, but I have a feeling that Zane's deck can get out of control pretty quickly if you let it. So Zane gives us a... Oh no, he does give a times 18 multiplier, so he is just as good as the level 40 Jesse's. So if Zane happens to pop up in your GX Duel World, you might as well auto-duel him really quick, just get a bonus couple of points towards your event goals. But that's pretty much just the overview of the event. Very similar to the Yami Merit event, very similar to all the other token events that they run in this game, as well as a bunch of options for farming them with one specific deck. So, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all had a great time, and I hope you all have a great day. I will see you all in the next episode, and farewell for now.